Kalimera Year 2. Now our starters in maths from now on are going to be revision of some of the things we've already learnt about in Year 2. And we're starting with column addition. Now don't worry about this. I know these may look a bit scary to start with, but I'm going to just go over some of the things we learnt about in the autumn term to help us work these out. And remember, you're actually just adding very tiny numbers because you're just counting the tens and counting the ones. We started learning about two-digit numbers using tens and ones. So if we look at these two numbers, we've got 4 tens there, so that's 40, and we've got 4 ones, so the whole number is 44. And then on the other side, we've got 2 tens, and we've got 3 ones, so that's 23. And to add them up, we just pushed them all together and then counted the total. But remember the rule, you always count the ones first. So how many ones are there all together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 7 ones. And how many tens? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 tens. So all together, that would make 67. And the next way we looked at it was through partitioning the two-digit number using the arrow card. So at the top there, we've got 56. So I can split it into a 50 and a 6. And then 22, I can split into 20 and 2. So if you add up the ones, we've got 6 add 2. So 6, 7, 8. That's 8 ones. And then we're going to add up the 10s. So 50, 60, 70. 70 altogether. And then if you add up that, you've got 78. Now when we record this using squares, you don't have to split the numbers out. You're just putting them into the squares. So it's a bit like, let's look at this one. We've got 45 and 32, and we've got the picture of 45 and 32 to help as well. So I don't need to split them up. All I need to do is to add up the ones. So 5 and 2 makes 7. And then 4 tens and 3 tens makes 7 as well. So it's 77. Now the important thing is that you write the numbers in the squares. So we've got 24, add 33. And always put the big number at the top, because when you come to do subtraction, it has to be at the top. So it's a good habit to get into. And it's much easier adding them up this way than it is this way, because if you do it this way, you're going to think, oh, I've got to add that one to that one, then I've got to add that one to that one, which looks very confusing. But on this side, it's just 3 and 4, which is 7, then 3 tens and 2 tens is 5 tens. So what you're going to do in a minute is practice writing those in your book in the squares. So this one, I've already done it in printing, let's do it in writing. And they have to be directly on top of each other. So these are the 5 sums I want you to have a go at in your book, and I want you to write them using the squares like this. So I've done the first one for you, which is this one. So we've got 36 and 21, and always put the big number at the top, even if that's not the order. Remember, it doesn't matter which order you add up in, but always put the big number at the top, because when you come to take away, you have to. So it's just a good habit to get into. So 6 ones, add 1 1, makes 7 ones. 3 add 2 is 5. So I want you to write those in your book, but using the columns, using the squares. I don't want you to write them like that. Your TLP for today is, can I sort images of fractions? So I'm going to show you this using the sheet that you've got in your pack, and we'll just have a quick look at some of the little pictures that you've got to go with it. So these are the images that you're going to have to sort. These are bigger versions so you can see them more clearly. So that's an orange divided into 4 bits, which means they're in quarters. And we've got a pentagon that's divided in half. And there's a cake, which is in quarters. And there's a biscuit, and a third of the biscuit has been broken off. So there's 3 equal sections and one section has been broken off. Now you could describe that as a whole Kit Kat, or you could describe it by what it's divided into. And how much of a pizza does that picture show? Now that's an interesting one, because you could label that as 1.5, because you've got one whole apple and then you've got half an apple next to it. Oh, that's a tricky one. How much of the whole pizza is being shown there? So you don't need to count the extra little bits, but how much of a pizza is that? You have to work out what's missing, what's been taken away. That's an easy one. That's quite an easy one. What is that bit of biscuit? That would be very hard to do with a real biscuit though, wouldn't it? Because it would all crumble up. How much water is in that glass? How full is it? How much of that picture is blue? That's another easy one. That's quite an easy one. What have those sandwiches been divided into? Now with that picture, you could either say how much is blue or how much is white. How much of that picture is white? That was a tomato. And another orange, but this time it's divided differently. And I think that one, they've just put the black lines on there. It's not a real divide. So what's that being divided into? How much of that picture is purple? So now you're going to use those to put on your sheet. In your pack, you've got a copy of this sheet, a slightly smaller version than this. And this is the mind map that we normally do at the very start of our fractions topic. So we couldn't do it because obviously you didn't have the sheets yet. So now you've got them, what we're going to do is sort some pictures onto this sheet. So first of all, we're going to write the number versions of the fractions. So this one is whole, so that means 1. A third means 1 out of 3. A quarter is 1 out of 4. A half is 1 out of 2. So the next job is to cut up some of the little pictures that you've got to go with it. So then you stick them. You can cut them much smaller than I've done. I've been a bit lazy with my cutting. That's half. That's showing 1 out of 3. So that's a third. That's another half, because that's half a strawberry. Can I find a quarter? Now that's interesting, because the white one is a quarter. The blue ones are 3/4, but the white one is a quarter, so that can go there. And then there's another picture of a quarter. Let's try and find one with food. Here's a cake divided into quarters. Now remember, when it's a picture with all the quarters in, only one bit of it is the quarter. That bit is the quarter. So some of them you could actually stick it where it says whole. Like that one is divided into thirds, but actually you've got the whole pie there. So you could stick it there. You could stick it there or there if you did an arrow to the bit that's a third. That bit there is the third. So see how many you can fit on. You probably won't be able to fit all of them on, because I'm looking at mine. There's no way I'm going to fit them all on unless I did them really teeny. There's another quarter. I don't think there's many thirds. There's quite a few pictures where it's divided into quarters. Now the next job you can do is have a look around the outside and see if you can name any of those fractions. So to do that, you have to count how many bits. 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 bits. And how many is coloured in? Just 1. So 1 out of 3 is red. Now let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bits. And 1 out of 8 is coloured in red. So that's an eighth. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bits. And 1 is coloured in red. So you might have covered them up a bit when you stuck your pictures on. But the ones that you can still see, you can label those. And then the outside bit can have a label as well. And just stick on as many as you can fit. You don't have to put them all on.